My dear friends, hello. Good day to you. I hope you're doing fantastic today. And I'm coming at you with a new episode like every week. And I'm trying to feed you with ideas, feed you with inspiration, and feed you with this optimism that wasn't always known to me as it is today. I see myself as a realist and pragmatist as well at the same time because I spend a lot of time, if not majority of my time, in a business context where I'm constantly trying to innovate my ideas, my thinking, but also my business skills, which really help me to accomplish at a whole new level. But beside that, I'm doing this. I'm shooting videos, I'm writing articles, or I'm writing ebooks, I'm collaborating with coaches, I'm building brands when the time permits. Like I was trying to build FitFun, a brand around wellness, which I scaled down because it was very taxing. And as I said, I spent a lot of time in a business context, and we had a team at some point of 60 people, which was quite heavy. And if you don't do it full time, it can be very, very challenging. But of course, there are ways to manage it. But today I'm coming at you with a different topic. I want you to really slow the time down and step back. I try to shoot these episodes on the weekend because during the week, as you know, you got kids, you got work, you got dog, you got responsibilities. But during the weekend, at least I love Saturdays for myself because that's the day where I feel like, hey, it's the in-between day and I can really catch a breath. I can go for a bike ride, I can have a workout, maybe I can allow myself to have a massage because I have time in between. And of course you can allow, depends on what job you have, you can obviously build these things also during the week. But during the weekend, you can really catch a breath. And today's topic is about realizing you are alive. I want you to pause for a second and think where you live. Do you live in Europe? Do you live in Arabia, Asia, or America? And why I want you to realize it, because today I want to kind of frame the situation in a moment. First start a little bit with something sadder. And you know me, I'm optimist and really want to bring this positivity into these sessions so you realize, hey, you know, there is chance for me, there's chance for all of us to make it in this rat race, and that we can step out of that into our own way of being and living. That said, I'm, living with a partner who's Ukrainian or her family is still in Ukraine. And yesterday we actually, during the evening when we went to, get some food, she got a news that her friend who was on the front line was, attacked by the Russian forces, and there was quite high uncertainty whether he survived that. And going back to the notion, realizing that we are alive, I want you to think about where you really live. Maybe you live there, maybe you live in another country like Syria, or maybe in Pakistan, Palestine, or somewhere there where war is waging for longer time. And I know this is hard. These are hard times next to all the crises like the pandemic that is behind us, but also the inflation and uncertainty, economy, rising prices of gas, etc. But I want you to really think about it for a second. If you are fortunate like myself and somebody who lives in Europe, in the US, most likely there is no war. Maybe there are some crimes here and there, but most of the time you're lucky, right? You are alive, you're breathing. In this moment, you can close your eyes, you can be like, hey, I'm happy, I'm alive. And if you are there in this moment and you feel alive, I want you to really kind of shake yourself up. The clock is really ticking. I know it's ticking for me, it's ticking for you, it's ticking for all of us. And especially in the Western society, I feel we are a bit spoiled because we are not taxed like Ukraine with a war, which is going now for years, but active war now is being almost a year, and you can imagine how many innocent people are dying there. And what this brings in a perspective, and especially because I am, with somebody who actually is from there, and we were now spending time with her family as well, and trying to help them along the way as we can. It's hard. It can be hard, and it brings us more. It awakens us because we are now suddenly from, yeah, life is okay, and I have responsibilities, and I can't control my time, and I'm not productive, and it will be okay. Suddenly we are awake, we are alive, and we know, hey, wow, people dying somewhere. What do I do with my life? Maybe it's just me, and maybe perhaps again, as I said, many times in these recordings, I'm born in Eastern Europe, so I always saw myself as an unprivileged kid. Grew up on a farm, hard work, had to hustle. Didn't always like to work hard. Sometimes was quite lazy, but it helped me to forge this resilience, if you will, that I like to talk about a lot. And if you're somebody like the acquaintance of my fiance who actually had 2 kids and a wife, and they're at home and they think like, the kids are asking themselves, hey, are we orphan or not? Again, me, I'm a jolly guy. I bring the joy, I bring the optimism, but I know that we really have to shake ourselves up. The terror in Ukraine is heartbreaking. One country oppresses the other. I want you to realize what that means. Just because there are different opinions, and I don't want to make this show political, because this is really not the idea. What I want to bring it to is really to realize that we are alive, we can breathe, and just like Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust during the Second World War and came alive on the other side, and then wrote books and talked about this, how you can use it to grow your mindset, and how much the human nature and the neuroplasticity of the apex predator, which is human, we can adapt, we can change, we can grow. But we can also, on the other side, waste our time. And it's not something, we should sway our head in unison and continue our life as is. I think it's really something and a moment to realize, hey, what am I doing with my life? Am I focused on really building something, serving, making a difference, or is it just ego? I'm better and I'm accumulating for myself. Because we live in this society that is spoiled a bit with endless abundance. And sometimes we live in this, as I call it sometimes, limbic hijack, like Matrix, where Morpheus, if you remember the movie Matrix, where people were actually thinking that this is the real world, but it wasn't. And again, I don't want to make this any science fiction. I want you to think where you are at, and I want you to think, hey, are there areas in my life where I just need to really wake up, and I could wake up? It doesn't have to be drastic, but it can be something that this example of war just keeps you alive, keeps you awake to what actually could happen to you at any time. And if you study the Asian philosophy and Stoics, they talk about this a lot, how things can just change like this in an instant, right? We can get sick. It doesn't have to be war. It can be our family person or member dies, or the person we love the whole life breaks up with us because we were asleep at a wheel, or we just get fired, whatever that is. So what can you do about this? Because this is who I am. I like to talk about, action. And this is also why I brought a couple of books with me, guys, today, because I think it will help. We are starting the year, finishing the first month, but it's not too late. I have been in Mexico actually last year, fortunate, because of my fiance is such a traveler. She doesn't leave me to stay at home, and she says, hey, no, you're going with me. And initially I struggled, but after the years together, I realized it's a blessing, because you see a new culture, you learn new habits, and you realize more you see, more I actually can talk about stuff that is really relevant. And a lot of times, I've lived in different countries within Europe or within the European borders, but it's different than if you travel around the world and you realize, hey, we are so many, we are 8 billion people on the planet. It's insane. And sometimes we think we are alone. So this is why I love to read, I love to travel, again with an exclamation marks, because it, or the air quotes, as you will, because it just makes me to awaken the fire inside. And when I fall asleep at a wheel, which I sometimes do like everybody else, and I think I'm living to my full potential, but I'm not, it awakes me, and I realize, hey man, you got to be more humble. You got to be more giving to other people. You got to say thank you more often. So the first point I want to give to you, a first advice, is realize you're slacking. Realize what are those areas, and whether there is an area you need to swing the bat just a bit harder. And again, it doesn't have to be anything drastic. Like, you don't need to move countries, you need to run away, break up now and say, oh, my life is actually a wreck, and I'm a loser. No, this is not what I want to give you. I want to give you a sense of urgency. I really believe, I'm a strong believer that we got enough time. I borrowed this acronym from Gary Vaynerchuk, and I think he's really the way he teaches young kids and society about, being patient with the process and just go at it day after day after day after day. I think it's really, it aligns with the way I'm thinking. But beside that, we need to also realize that life is very precious, like the war in Ukraine. Many people, actually, because I was volunteering here as well, and I met some people from there who actually said, I built my life and it was really good. And then the first wave came in 2014, and so we moved places. And now again, we are 2022, and then again, the person had to move places, and she was explaining her story with tears in her eyes. And then when you think about it, as human beings, safety is the probably number one thing, with, being fat and all the Maslow pyramid that starts at the bottom. I want you to think about the stories and your story where, what was the story in your life where you actually were forced to get awake, and where you were forced to just do something finally and swing the bat a bit harder, make the difference, and live your life to the fullest. And again, you might say, hey Matteo, listen, really lovely, nice to meet you, man, great story, but I'm busy, I have kids, I don't have time to think even what will happen, with me, what will happen in 1 week, 1 month. Yeah, I get it, man. I get it. It's hard. We are living in hard times. The time sometimes gets faster. We have a lot of responsibilities, but it also means it's a survival of the fittest. Let's put it out there like this. It's a survival of the fittest. Like, don't be mistaken that in the evolution from hunter-gatherer to now humans being the apex predator, that something changed. It's still survival of the fittest. It's not always that visible because we packed it nicely in sophisticated society and hiding behind tuxedo and fancy cars. But there you have it. Fancy cars, all these things. It's still about accomplishing. Whether that's important or not, whether you as a hunter-gatherer needed to have the biggest piece of meat because you needed to provide for a family, or now you want to have a biggest car because in a neighborhood because you think you're the king. It's probably both could be really fun, but on the other hand, as a hunter-gatherer, you probably needed to survive. And today, you probably don't need the biggest car to survive. However, as the society changes, whether that's global warming, wars, and being fired, or companies changing, downsizing, we really have to reskill, we have to retool, and we have to readjust. And big thing is really, how do you keep adjusting? How do you keep changing? It's nice to blame circumstances. It's okay to give to the rat race. It's okay to say, yeah, I'm fine. But let me ask you one key question. I'm trying to ask myself these things. Just don't think that what I'm telling you here, I'm not doing myself. I'm really trying my best and hard. Sometimes I slide like everybody else, but I'm really trying to ask myself, at the end of my life, did I really push forward fully? Did I try? Or Did I love meekly? Made no impact. Again, you don't have to be Mother Teresa, Oprah Winfrey, and all the greats. You don't. You have to be you. But you have to be aware each and every day that you wake up and you say, man, I gonna do my best today at work. I gonna stand up. I gonna do a towering work. I gonna produce. I'm not gonna slack. I'm not gonna check my phone 24/7. I'm not gonna compare myself with those skinny men or women. I will not use external circumstances as a poor excuse. I will execute. It's the start of the year. So I want you to have this intention that you can get stuff done. Another example is, imagine you have a boat. You're a captain and you just step in and you're like, you know what? Let's turn the key on. We have a big engine. We can get anywhere we want. Let's let the boat ride. Let's see where it goes. Imagine what will happen. The boat will be washed up somewhere on a seashore in no time. Or you end up somewhere on an abandoned island and you're like, maybe you don't mind. But if your goal is to go to Miami, you probably don't want to end up on a seashore. But this is how many of us, many of you living your life, because you kind of think that you're not author of your life, but you are. So let's not give to the pressure. Let's not give to the metrics, but really wake up. This is the second point I want you guys to think about. Again, I have a couple books here for you. Just don't think that I'm lying. So I will introduce them in a second. The second point is to wake up. It's really too hot. And one thing, let me give you a backstory. When you want to wake up, you really need this third-party perspective. I realized it last year the hard way. I was always postponing hiring a coach. I did it a couple of years back for my productivity. And then I did last year, hired my dear friend, Deborah Gemmel. Deborah Gemmel, if you're listening to this, shout out to you. I know you're amazing. Guys, please check Deborah. She's an integrative wellness health coach and coaching, C-level celebrities. Amazing human being, and it can really give you perspective. So talking about perspective, this is what we need now more than ever. In business, in personal life, in relationships, as we are building our resilience skills, as we are building ourselves up, it's perspective. For that, you really need to have somebody to tell you, hey, by the way, I went through life like this. I made these mistakes. Maybe you could think about a blind spot. Cut yourself some slack. Don't be so hard on yourself. Because if you don't do that, the thing is, you will beat around the bush. You will tend to take things easier, and it's okay. But the thing is, you might do the same mistakes over and over again. And you remember what Einstein says. He said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. I want you to get your result. You want to get to your goals. Maybe it's the mansion, maybe it's the villa, maybe it's providing for your kids, maybe it's really the war ends in Ukraine or somewhere else where you live, that you have a peace and that you can, just go for a walk and don't have to be worried that a rock is gonna fall on your head. Maybe it's all those things. But it's really going back to the urgency. It's time to awaken it. Find that point. And I see my watch is actually going, a good interruption, which actually says I burn 500 calories. I know you might asking, hey, how is this relevant? It will be relevant just now in a third point that we're gonna talk about in a second. Another point I want you to guys think about there next to the urgency is really count your blessings. Think about that you are alive. We talk about it and I repeat it a couple times throughout this recording for you, but think where you are. Think where you might be, and if you don't have anything, if you're really maybe in Ukraine or if you're anywhere else in a tough spot and situation, guys, I want you to dig deeper. You got this. I know this is hard to hear. This is hard to hear for myself sometimes too, when I get a feedback that I hate, that somebody, and I had it last year when senior executive gave me a feedback which I didn't agree with, but at some point I realized, hey, when it hurts, it's historical, as Robin Sharma says. And we need to follow that pain more often than we want to actually do. So wake up, appreciate what you have, say thanks more often. Make sure that you really are grateful that you're here in a moment. And that means hug your loved ones. Be there. I have this practice with my partner that sometimes we hug each other. We never probably talked about it, but we just sometimes stand there and hug each other, and I try to feel the embrace, and I try to feel, the warmth of the body. And it's such a magical thing, and I feel it now, even when she's not here, that this presence, this thinking that life is precious and that we should make it count, matters. So that's the second part, guys. You need to wake up. You need to do those hard workouts, set goals, go follow your passion, get a coach, journal, all of these things. Make sure you do them. And now comes to the fun part, and we talked about burning calories. Now we're gonna talk about the books a little bit in a second, and I want to really tell you guys that just pause for a second and think where you at. A lot of this above is really good, what I told you, right? It's kind of common sense, realizing you're slacking. Well, slack is good sometimes. That's the opposite. I need to do it more. And this is what I decided as well for this year, that when I schedule to slack, schedule it. This is what Brendon Burchard talks about. We are randomly slacking through social media, and suddenly 1 hour is gone. We are like, oops, I got to get back to the meeting. What did I get done? Nothing. So realize where you're slacking and slack more often, but schedule it, which is okay. Relax on the weekend. Go for a bike ride. Then wake up to the reality of what really matters to live life fully, openly, and making a difference. And the third part is doing it. Guys, this is what Nike says, just do it. I really think that just doing it means action. It means movement. A lot of times, and let me tell you this, if you are now sitting where I'm sitting and you're sitting next to me and looking from my perspective, you might be thinking, this guy might be right, but I feel fear. I feel anxiety. I feel that I will fail. And you're right. You might fail. You might make mistakes. It's silly. It's silly for me to say it out loud now, because guys, I wasn't born to speak in front of a camera. I wasn't born to do bodybuilding, to compete in bodybuilding, but yet I did. I wasn't born to write stuff, yet I'm writing. I wasn't born to do sales. Yes, I'm doing a lot of sales and marketing. But I realized it's really the moments when we run towards our fears and when we just fight with the feeling that we don't want to do it and we don't want to look silly. I'm like, it's okay to look silly. Show some humility, man. You don't know anything about it. That person who teaches you knows everything. This is why books are the best and fastest way, most likely, to not make the same mistakes. And before you go to the woods, you want to draw a map. And I want you to really now think, hey, it's January. Maybe I haven't done anything with my life. Or I did some resolutions, but I already broke them. No alcohol. Oh, damn, I already was drinking enough. But make sure that you think long term. As we talked about, we got enough time. You need to have a long-term perspective, 30, 50, 70 years down the road. What are your top 5 life goals? Can you name them? Is it financial abundance? Is it something to do with your vibrancy, with your health? Does it have to do something with your fitness? How fit you want to be, that you want to be muscly even when you're old? Does it have to do something with relationships? Maybe community you want to live in? Or does it have to do something with making an impact, building empire for your kids? Maybe you want to move to a new country because you don't want to be all the time in a country which is in war. Whatever it is, have you done that? Have you drawn the map? And how can you start today? It's nice to have this vision, but now you need to bring it back, say, okay, well, I'm here. I can't see 70 years ahead. Who knows if I'm gonna be alive? I think you can. And this is also why I brought this book from Tony Robbins, Life Force. And we're not gonna go through it. Don't worry, it's a thick book. And I even haven't learned everything or read everything. But this is just stumbled on actually something very interesting, tackling the top 6 killers. So I'm just gonna give you the points that you know it's worthwhile to buy the book. So when you now today say, you say, Matteo, okay, great. Again, I agree with you. Maybe I don't agree with you. It's also fine. How can I, know what's gonna happen tomorrow in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? That's right, you can't. But what you can do is draw an approximate map for 3 years. I wouldn't probably do like detailed 30 years, detailed 40 years, detailed 50 years, but I would draw the milestones and say, kind of, this is the North Star where I want to go. At least this is how I'm doing it. Of course, I don't know what's going to be in 70 years, but I get a feeling, and this is the thing, I get a feeling how I want my life to operate, what I want my life to represent. And 3 years is tangible period, because you can really quickly back it up and say, hey, in 1 year, I want to be good at XY. In 2 years, I want to run a marathon. In 3 years, I want to build my own business and I want to have some money out of it. So then you have that and you backtrack, you go back to your calendar and you set daily reminders. First year, you want to build some skill. That means maybe every week, every Sunday from 2 to 3, you will be studying this. You want to run a marathon. Second year, that means maybe you could do it earlier, but okay, you look online, you look at the skills. I mean, I don't have to tell you all of this. You're smart enough, probably way smarter than I am. And then you look how somebody else accomplished it. And then, or maybe you want to be somebody like superhuman, like David Goggins. So you go study him, the man they call superhuman or Superman, modern Superman. So, and you look how he actually did how many marathons and maybe 2 times or 3 times Navy SEAL training. So it's up to you where you want to be. But no, you can always push a little bit further. And then I want you to look at these different areas, because this could be the main goals and I don't want to overcomplicate it. Ideally, you align it around these areas. This is why I brought this book or these books around things that we write at FitFun as well, around health, around mindset, around resilience, around relationships, around tools. And I want you to think how these areas can make you better. I didn't mention movement, for example, but movement is a big thing that I really realize in my life, and probably gonna start with it before the health, that when you see your life as a healthy person, and from the healthy perspective, maybe you're already healthy, but if you're not, it's hard. Maybe study the best, like David Goggins, Tony Robbins, but people who are really like, I started bodybuilding, so if you have any questions about fitness, about how to build muscle, let me know. I don't do it actively anymore as a coach, but what I do is I use it in my daily life. And what I realized that being fit, and there are a lot of people out there, by the way, like Chris Heria, Chris Hemsworth, I just got his app to center to actually take my physique to the next level, or bring something new into my life as a seasoned bodybuilder. It's nice to actually learn something new and get new inputs. So I would encourage you, if you're starting out, to go for a walk every day, 5-10 minutes. That's it. You do that each day, each week, each month, each year. And this is why watch like this, whether that's Apple Watch, Suunto, Garmin, all these different things that are out there, will track the progress. You need to measure everything, and you don't have to be ultra vigilant. But the thing is, if you pair it with an app, you can see, okay, I have done so much running, I have done so much circuit training, I have done so much weightlifting, I have done so much swimming, I have done so much table tennis, I have done so much yoga, I have done so much Zumba, I have done so much marathon running, whatever that is, obstacle racing. It is necessary you track nowadays what you do, but keep the perspective of things in a bigger picture towards what we talk about, being alive. We can quickly, and I think we live in a society which it might be a bit of a problem, because we are so analytical, and I see it with myself, going back to that thing, hiring a coach to kind of awake yourself or become alive. where I realized, the analytical mind, which really Deborah pointed out really nicely, can stop you from feeling your heart and feeling your gut and feeling what you should do. So all this measurement is great. Please integrate it, because like the Oura ring, it's a ring. You probably have heard about it as well, but it's similar to the watch, and you can track your progress, your sleep, and see how you feel. I want you to really use that actively, but adjust it to yourself. Then we move towards the health. I would recommend you to check Dr. Mark Hyman for a lot of exciting tips around health, around nutrition, what to eat, what to not to eat. And I realized, because I tried a lot of different diets, I'm not a big fan of the name diet. I'm a fan of a healthy lifestyle and nutrition. I eat quite versatile food, and I try to pair it with how I feel after the food. So I would encourage you to do that. Coming towards the books, check the book from Tony Robbins, Life Force, Peter Diamandis, and Robert Hariri. And it's a book of, how many pages? 600, about 600 to read, and then you have appendix and stuff. But let me give you these 6 things. And again, it's some random, sorry for that, but tackling the top 6 killers, the latest scientific breakthroughs available to help you prevent, treat, and potentially heal some of the most dreaded diseases, including heart disease, how to mend a broken heart, your brain, treating strokes, how to win the war on cancer, conquering inflammation and autoimmune disease, bringing peace to the body, the double threat of diabetes and obesity, defeating and double threat, Alzheimer's disease, eradicating the beast. So I'm not gonna go now and look for what each means and how, but there is a lot of study behind this, and it's really cool. So this is how I would start your health journey. If you're there, if you're already maybe advanced, this book definitely is on an advanced level. So if you just wanna skim through it and see what is there for you, I encourage you. Then I would encourage you second book from Naomi Whittle, the Glow 15. So this is a program, how to grow, kind of how to reset. She talks about autophagy, how to cleanse your body, fasting, and all these different things. A lot of sleep tests, a lot of superfoods. Encourage you to do that. Like healthy books, health-oriented books, it's good. It's good for you. It will make you feel better, because in the healthy body is healthy energy. Then I want you to focus on the mindset. There's a mindset. With mindset, I mean really, how are you optimizing yourself? You're setting those goals, and you're like, you've heard these 2 terms: growth mindset, fixed mindset. Where are you at a spectrum? Are you pushing forward, or are you just sticking with the same thing? Pushing forward often means that you need to change. And one book that I would recommend you, which is quite interesting, it's from Jeff Boss. He's a leader, team coach, co-founder, former Navy SEAL. And I like books from Navy SEALs like Jocko Willing, Extreme Ownership. It can be quite extreme sometimes, but this is about managing the mental game, how to think more effectively, navigate uncertainty, and build mental fortitude. Definitely interesting book. Something I realized I need to reread. Then I want you to think about resilience. And this is also something I would encourage you to read about resilience. But if there is a section that really interests you, this is my big topic next to the leadership and paired with the leadership that I like to talk about. And one actually good thing is that there is a lot about resilience, but if you're really interested in this topic, please reach out. You can read the Turtle series, as I call it, on our magazine, medium/fit-fun-lifestyle-magazine. And then you can kind of navigate to the resilience part. And there you get a lot of the goodies, if you will, for resilience. And resilience, in my opinion, is really how you build your grit, how you overcome obstacles, how you maybe stick with a relationship with a partner that is hard, or how you make a tough decision, how you're getting stronger. Then I want you to think and this is a book that I read also a while back about relationships. You know, do you eliminate the drama from your life? Do you choose people who elevate you? You elevate them, but also in a business context. So this is a lot of the kind of personal development, but this is kind of the business. And I think this was a really funny book from Ross McCammon. And Ross, if I'm not mistaken, he worked for Esquire magazine, and it's he talks about a period of almost debilitating anxiety and awkwardness interpensed with instances of professional glory, and learn how to navigate workplace with feeling entirely ill-equipped for achieving success in his new career. So he actually talks about, and you can see the funny picture, works well with others. So it's really about shaking hands, shutting up, another crucial skill business that no one ever teaches you. I'm coming from the business, so a lot of these books are quite relevant for me because I talk to a lot of people, but you probably as well. So I encourage you as well to focus on relationships in the coming year and put it on the map. And the last is tools. Sometimes it's all of this. A lot of this, what I'm telling you, are tools. Encourage you to include them. But it can be also one more bonus, which is a book that I sometimes return to, which is the Decision Book, 50 Models for Strategic Thinking. So you have the Michael Kroger's, sorry Michael, I'm butchering them, Roman Chapela to why. So it's really, in the end, it's about what do you want, how can you get it, how can you live more happily and work more effectively. So it's, in a nutshell, very cool book. I encourage you, like all these other books. And it's about leading yourself, leading a team, and leading an organization. A lot of things that I'm talking about at my own brand. And that's kind of it, guys. I think it was quite extensive. It's quite a lot. It's a mouthful. And I really hope it gave you ideas. I know this was a little bit crazier episode and you're listening to this maybe when you're commuting or you're watching it. But I want to give you hope. I want to provide you with tools. I know we started a little bit bitter at the start with being awake, being alive, realizing that you can be grateful. It's necessary. It's necessary in today's society for us to achieve greatness, for us to achieve the next level. Guys, you, me, us, this is it. This is the moment you have been waiting for. There is no magical moment arriving for you to be ready. You need to start today. You need to reinvent yourself. Sometimes it's just one bar, sometimes it's the entire life. But do it today. Do it with bravery and heroic decision. And as I always say, you know, it really starts with the health. This is why I gave you the whole speech about the books and how to be healthy. It's radiating energy. That means you really need to manage and mitigate stress. You need to learn to deal with it. So the book from Jeff Boss will really help you to navigate uncertainty. We live in changing, uncertain times. Then it's really about elevating others, making sure you're radiating love, you're radiating certainty, but also joy and energy. And energy comes from treating yourself well, eating well, living well, and then leading a heroic life, which means, do you want to make an impact and how do you make it? So I gave you a roadmap for 2023, if you will, with books to read and how to get there. So if you're starting out, you're like, oh man, I don't know, this is it. I gave you the roadmap. Go at it, build it on the top of your model, or edit it and make it better. I want to thank you. Thank you again for being here, for sharing it with the people you love. People you maybe don't know, you're like, hey, by the way, I read and listened to this strange guy about leadership and about tools, how to take care of my life and how to become alive again. Listen to this. I want to thank you as well for sharing this and for being here repeatedly and sticking around. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to see you really soon again. Have a blessed and amazing day and take care of yourself.